I'm Gurveer Dinza. Breaking news right now. We want to take you to a live news briefing taking place in Brunswick, Georgia by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation regarding the arrests in the case of the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery.
They came back to their command center staff and began putting together a plan of operation to effectuate the arrest. At about 7:45, that was in fact done yesterday evening without any incident. No one was hurt, neither the defendants nor any of the agents, and so that was done properly and safely, and we're very thankful of that. Those individuals were then turned over to the Glenn County Sheriff's Department and have been placed in custody at that particular jail. So that's where we're at today. Before I take any questions, I certainly understand there is some concern, there's some question by the community, by folks around the state, probably folks around the nation. Is there anyone else going to be charged in this case? I will tell you that this case is an active, ongoing investigation. In fact, once this press conference breaks today, these agents behind me and the agents in the crowd who are here today to observe will continue their investigation. They're staying in this community. They're going to continue to work it, and they're going to go wherever the facts take them. If, in fact, the facts take them to make another arrest in this case, then they will do that. If the facts do not, then they won't. But I will tell you categorically that it's still an open, active investigation. We're continuing to look at all the evidence. They're continuing to do things that haven't been done yet, and we'll plan on doing that the rest of the time it takes before they make some decision or conclusion whether or not probable cause exists to arrest anyone else. I thank you for allowing me to make those comments. I'll take any questions. I'll say your hand first.
How far had the local investigation gotten when you guys got your hands on it?
It had gotten to a good point. My understanding in speaking to my folks is that it was a good investigation. It was a thorough investigation. That doesn't mean there were some things that we believe need to be done that hadn't been done. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful sense to the people who worked it, but you could get 10 agencies to work a case, and they may work it 10 different ways and still arrive at the same place. So there were some things that we thought needed to be done that were done yesterday. There's some things that will continue to be done that perhaps haven't been done. We'll go back and review things that have been done to make sure they don't need to be tightened up in any fashion. But there's no complaining by my folks about what has been done to this point. Yes.
Beth Russo with Action News, Jax. What did the GBI see during their investigation that the Waycross PD didn't see during their 2 months with this case that led you guys to make an arrest and them not to?
You know, I can't answer what another agency did or didn't see, but I can tell you that based on our involvement in this case, considering the fact that we were hit the ground running Wednesday morning, and within 36 hours we had secured warrants for 2 individuals for felony murder, I think that speaks volumes for itself, and that the probable cause was clear to our agents pretty quickly.
Should the DA lose their job over this?
You know, I'm not going to comment on that. All I can do is tell you when we became involved in this case, we did what we thought we were supposed to do. I'm very confident in our investigation, confident in our continuing it. I'm not comfortable speaking about anyone else's position.
That video.
Waycross DA blamed all this uproar on a local rabble-rouser, and he also suggested that the citizens' arrest and the other laws will follow here. Can you just explain why you guys came to such a wildly different conclusion than someone who advocated so long, and what seems so obvious in this case to you guys?
You know, again, I can't speak on what anyone else sees or doesn't see about a case, but I will tell you that we base our decisions on 2 things. One are facts, and the other is the law. Whatever the facts are, we apply the law to it. If the law says what the facts are is a felony murder, then we take the warrants for it. I'm very comfortable in telling you that there's more than sufficient probable cause in this case for felony murder.
How important is the video, sir?
I'm sorry?
How important is the video?
Well, it's like any other piece. Sure, it's certainly a very important piece of evidence. You know, anytime you can see what happens at a scene, then it plays an important role in decision making. Is it the only piece of evidence? Is it the only thing in this case? No. But is it important? Absolutely.
But it seems that so much has transpired since that video has been released.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
It seems that so much has transpired since that video has been released. 10 weeks, nothing seems to happen. The video comes out, and within days there's 2 arrests.
Yeah, well, I can only tell you what happened since Tuesday at 9:30 when we got involved. You know, the video was already out. We saw it. We reviewed the rest of the file, and we made the arrest.
And the video that's out, is that the media one, the version that is out in the media, is that the same video that you have and have been studying?
To my knowledge, it's the same video. Yes, sir.
And Mr. William, what will happen to him?
Mr. Who?
Ryan Williams.
Don't know yet. You know, we're going to go wherever the evidence takes us. Let's say hypothetically, if we believe tomorrow or in a week or 3 weeks there's probable cause for an arrest, then we'll do it. If we don't believe there is, then we won't. I don't mean to be that simplistic or that flippant, but that's the way it is with us. We don't, you know, we base our decisions strictly on facts and evidence, and that's exactly what we'll do in this case.
Without this video, would these two men be free?
Are you investigating the person who shot that video?
We're investigating everybody involved in the case, including the individual who shot the video. Yes, ma'am.
Without this video, would these two men be free right now?
I don't know. I can't comment on that. I can only tell you that when we got involved in the case, we look at what's available to us. If the video wasn't available to us, then we'd look at everything else. Whether or not we'd be at a point of probable cause, I don't know.
Would you guys be involved if it weren't for this video that surfaced this week on social media?
I don't know. We only become involved. So one thing about our agency, we can only statutorily become involved when we're asked to become involved. You know, and we don't work off of a timeline. In a perfect world, would we prefer to have been asked to become involved in February? Of course. But sometimes it isn't a perfect world. So we have to deal with the situation as it's placed in front of us. Yes, sir.
Director, when you say you're going to continue investigating, will that expand to the Glenn County Police Department and also the DA's office?
It will only expand to what's relevant to this murder investigation. We've been asked to conduct a murder investigation. That's what we're conducting. Yes?
Director, you said Ahmad's mother has said that the original story she was told by Glenn County Police was that her son was seen in an act of burglary and that the homeowner was the one that confronted him and shot him. That's not the case. You can see that from the video. Are you looking into the Glenn County investigators and their investigation and whether or not they were presenting the accurate information to the parents or whether or not they were doing a thorough investigation?
The only way I can answer that is to tell you that anything that's relevant to the murder investigation we're doing, we will look at. If it's relevant to the murder investigation, which is what we've been asked to do and it's what we're doing, then we'll look at it. If it isn't relevant to that issue, then we won't.
Director, are you concerned that you became involved? Are you concerned that you became involved in the case so late and that it took more than 10 weeks for an arrest to be made? Are you frustrated by the delay, the 10-week delay, and when this happened and when an arrest was made?
Well, again, I'll preface it by saying what I said a moment ago. The way we look at cases, if we can become involved in a case when there's still an active crime scene, when something just happened, that's always better for my people. It always is, because we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not depending on what someone else done. We're starting with what we do from the beginning. And so in a perfect situation, that's the best way to get the GBI involved. But again, if I told you this was the first time we ever came in late in the case, it wouldn't be true. It's happened before. And so, you know, my folks, I think, have done a tremendous job considering when they got involved, how, and the time they got involved to do what they've done to this point. But I would be foolish to tell you that things wouldn't be better for us as an agency if we didn't get involved very, very early in a case. I'd say yes, sir.
Mr. Reynolds, the attorney that apparently leaked the video said that it's a full unedited video, and have you been able to confirm that? And also, is it the only video that your office has seen of the shooting?
Well, I'm not comfortable talking about a whole lot more evidence about the underlying case at this point because we're not through with the investigation. We've obviously observed the video that we have. Whether or not there are any additional videos, I don't know of any. But regarding the length, the editing, anything of that nature, you know, we have our experts looking at it, and we'll make that decision down the road. Right now, I'm not comfortable speaking on it. Yeah, right.
I've got a question from the prosecutor. You will be the one prosecuting this case.
Sure.
You will be the one charging, but you will know the prosecution of the case before taking to the grand jury.
Right, while I was coming over, I missed part of that question.
You will be the one prosecuting this.
Yes.
Waiting on the charges. When the case goes from here in your office.
Well, of course, the charges that have been secured and against the defendants at this point, that was, of course, arrived at through meeting and so forth, myself and the GBI, My investigator has been working on the case also. So, but yes, to answer your question, yes, I will be the one prosecuting the case. And let me, if I might, follow up on a question that was asked earlier. And Vic had just finished, I guess, responding to. That is, you know, in a perfect world, you know, the earlier your involvement, of course, the better, okay? As y'all probably know from my prior press release, I was only asked to come into the case on April 14th, I believe it was. So I didn't get the case until then either. So we take it, you know, what we're given, and we go from there and go back and look at what has been done, and then go ahead forward. Which, as you noted, has led up to these arrests last evening. I will say, and I believe there was another question as far as the GBI's involvement and so forth. I will say this, that there were and continue to be some new developments in the case, okay? And the GBI, and my thanks to the GBI for their involvement and their response and helping me, okay? And that there were some new developments, and I can't go into at this time, but that they really did, as Director Reynolds said, they got over it real quick, and it helped me arrive at my decision as far as my capacity in advising the law enforcement in this case. Yes, ma'am.
The previous DA, Barnhill, had said that he felt that these men's actions were protected by both the stand your ground, no need to retreat law, and the idea of citizen's arrest. Does that argument seem valid to you?
When we take this case to the grand jury, and if it does, and we expect it will, perhaps could go to a trial on guilt or innocence, okay? The legal principles will be explained by the judge, okay? What someone says the applicable law is an opinion, okay? The law will come from the court, okay?
Mr. Durden,
yes.
How would you describe the atmosphere over the past 2 days in terms of the level of public pressure, quite frankly, that you may or may not have felt to bring these charges?
Well, public opinion is always, from one side or another, always going to be there, okay? We don't let that influence the decision, okay? We can't just make a snap decision, all right? So I understand the public opinion out there. I understand the sympathy, and I will echo something that the director said in extending. I have done this, and my victim staff at my office has done this in our condolences to Mr. Arbrey's mother and family. So we have made the decision based on what we feel like is the applicable law and the our interpretation of the evidence that has been uncovered here. So if that answers your question, Lewis, I believe you had one. And I apologize. This sun's kind of.
It's okay. Are you concerned about the amount of publicity this has received, and will the change of venue possibly take place when it gets to the court system?
Lewis, that would be a prejudgment at this point, and that would depend on a lot of things, and the judge would be the final arbiter of that. Okay, and I can't really answer, not because I don't want to. I'm just saying we're not to that point yet.
Director Reynolds.
You had spoken on Tuesday that while you felt the evidence warranted sending this on for considered criminal charges with grand jury that that's not likely to happen until June because of COVID-19. The next day, GBI is called in at your request. Was that an effort to maybe get something moving quicker, maybe an arrest quicker?
No. Those are two separate things. The June 12th is a directive from the Georgia Supreme Court. The other things has to do with evidence and some matters that I requested that GBI run down and that they have done. I will take just a minute, and that's about as far as I can go as far as getting into the case. In fact, I told Vic I was going to be brief, and sometimes as we lawyers are, maybe we're not. But I want to thank one other group, and that's the Prosecuting Attorneys Council in Atlanta. They have given me a great deal of help as far as legal advice and so forth in the case, and I just want to recognize that organization also. And thank you for
Director Reynolds.
Okay.
Director Reynolds.
Yes.
Director Reynolds. You are a former prosecutor yourself. Can you talk and give your opinion as to why this is a good or appropriate case to prosecute, in your opinion, after reviewing the facts?
Well, sometimes I have to make sure I'm taking off my former prosecutor's hat and putting on the investigator's hat. But the only thing I can tell you that from the GBI's perspective, and I kind of entertained both your question and the question of this gentleman a moment ago, I can tell you without any hesitation that regardless of the amount of social media, regardless of the amount of the mainstream media attention, regardless of the emotion, regardless of a supposed timeline, none of that matters to the GBI. It doesn't matter who the person is. It doesn't matter who the victim is. It doesn't matter who potential defendants are. All it matters is what the facts tell us. And so when we get into any case, certainly a case of this nature, our goal, first of all, is to see and find, number one, what are the facts? Then once we find those facts, number two, we apply the law to those facts. In this case, doing that relatively quick because, again, some of the investigation, a good portion of it was already done. We applied the law to the facts in this case and came up pretty quickly with a solid belief that there's sufficient probable cause to charge the McMichaels with felony murder and aggravated assault. I can tell you that if we didn't believe it, we wouldn't have arrested them. If we believe it, then we're going to put the bracelets on them, and that's exactly what we did yesterday evening. And so this case, when it is handed over to Mr. Durden for ultimate prosecution, will be complete. It will be done, and every stone will be turned over. I promise you.
Director Reynolds, what new evidence?
There's no hate crime in Georgia. There isn't. It's one of the, I think, 4 or 5 states left in the union that doesn't have a hate crime. So
Director Reynolds.
I don't know. I think with the emergency order in the court system, that's going to be something that the lawyers have to deal with. You know, we don't. The GBI won't be involved in setting hearings. That'll be done through the lawyers. I don't know if the gentlemen have counsel or not, but once they do, that'll be secured then. Thank y'all. I appreciate you so much.